May I speak to you in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. I want to just start off by saying how awesome I think it is that our country gives us a day off with a specific purpose to give thanks. And in particular, to give thanks for the bounty of our land and the food which we produce here. You know, giving thanks for the harvest is an ancient tradition that goes back centuries and is found all across many different cultures and nations. And so all of us, no matter where we are or what we believe, we need food. Food sustains us, it nourishes us, it gives us strength and energy. And food is a gift. They are true gifts because we can never repay God for them. Though they are the gifts of the earth and they give us what we need to survive, and if we use them well, we'll thrive. That food has on us. God, there's nothing see freely by God, created by. You know, the soil is not something that we could take credit for. Yes, we might have to rotate the soil and fertilize the soil, but we don't create. And although human hands may work hard at collecting and try to and we sow, we know that we get many more. And no seed planted in the ground cared for the gifts and to look above us to give thanks for the first inspiration for that sun. And likewise, so with water, the gift of life, another thing that we absolutely need to survive. We can't take any credit for making it. That is a gift, a true and pure gift. And even the tools of our harvest, even the metals and the woods in which the tools were made, from primitive ones to more modern, the earth, these are all, and this is what we hear in our reading from Deuteronomy this morning. As the Israelites crossed over, they were reminded that God was with them in a time of scarcity. That God helped them through that, and he brought them to this abundant land, overflowing with flowing streams and good land and beautiful trees which they could use for food. And wheat was there as well, and rocks to mine, gifts given to the people so that they would have all that they need, so that they would have and as the great gift, God just asks them one thing in return, that they appreciate, and then they give them the gifts. It says, God tells them, should they grow rich from the fruit of the land, do not say, it is my power to give this wealth. But instead, they were to always remember that these gifts came from God. And to remember that these gifts are for shared life and for abundance, and they are gifts given for all, for God's people. This is a reminder to us, this message, that we do not achieve, but we receive. And that's important. We don't achieve, but we receive. We receive gifts that help us to grow. But we forget this often. And we think both individually and as a culture that the gifts of the earth are ours for the taking, not for the receiving. There's a behavioral scientist by the name of J. Stephen Levin, and he writes that the opposite of gratitude, but rather indifference. So if you're not grateful, it's not like that you actively dismiss it, you just don't think about it. You just don't. Indifference, and it helps us to see life as a transactional encounter. So when things are transactional, we see people and things for what they could do for us, rather than appreciating who they are, how we help each other. So often, food for us becomes a transaction. We need food, we get food, we eat food, and it's great. We don't give too much thought. 5% of Canadians eat for dinner at 4 o'clock. And that might not be every day, but I can imagine that maybe with our busy lives that actually happens. a couple times a week that we don't give thought. It's just like, oh, I've got to feed ourselves. I've got to feed the kids. We've got to eat something. Anymore. I mean, we don't not many of us tend to farm our own land or grow our own crops or have cows and chickens here, at least not in the GTA so much. And so our food comes from the supermarket, which is fine. We might have good relationships with those in the grocery store, but it doesn't really make us think or appreciate the miracle that food is. Shane and I used to have a parish priest that said, if you don't bless the food, you steal it. It sounded harsh, but I think there's some truth in this, because another way of saying to steal means for our own possession. We take off. Taking is the thing that we do when we take. You reach out and you grab it, and you take it. Now think about receiving something. We receive gifts. And so when we receive a gift, we have to open up our hands and wait for it. It involves patience. It involves waiting. It is passive. And it could be humbling because it's not something that we could do on our own. Because we give thanks and recognize that we without the grace of God. Our book on gratitude, Our Faith Lives, is the story and giving thanks in all things and in all places. And that starts off at the very beginning where God created the earth and gave us life. And what we are asked to do is to be thankful and to be filled with thanksgiving. And when we think about how we give thanksgiving in our service, we'll see there are times of thanks all throughout what we do. Whenever we hear the scripture, and at the center of meal, which in Greek means Eucharistia, which is a Greek word for giving thanks. And at the time of the Eucharist, one of the things we say week after week, I'll say it is thanks bond. And in the Eucharistic meal, we know we give thanks for the bread and for the wine and for the gift of Jesus' life for us. These are gifts not of our own making, and gifts that we really truly cannot. And as we come up to collect the gifts of the bread and wine, and when we leave our service, we're invited to go out into the world to serve God, and everyone says, thanks be to God. As Christians, we are people who are called to give thanks. And our gospel reading again reminds us about how easy it is not to do that. How easy it is to act to, and I come humbly before this trap. But I believe that God has asked us to give fairly because it is, but the that we have, the more closed off we become. But the receive, the more open we are, the more grateful we are, and the more gracious, really, truly giving thanks as much as it is for the benefit of God. It makes us more appreciative always. And we celebrate this weekend, this day, to give thanks to God, to remember that it is the Lord who crowns the year with goodness, and to give thanks for the food and the basic elements of life that support us. So let us always remember that we are called to be a thanksgiving people, always giving thanks. And to that, let us all say, thanks be to God. Amen. And now I invite you to stay sing.